Let's look at what the newspapers are reporting this Tuesday. And we'll start off with the Daily Graphic newspaper. Auction of 6 billion Ghana cedis energy sector bonds starts today. Tema Accra train derails at Alajo. And following this incident, there's been a press statement that was released yesterday. I'll share a bit of that with you. There's a committee has been tasked to look into the cause of this derailment. But 20 fake doctors busted, also another headline on the front page of the Daily Graphic newspaper. But here's one of the interests. One land, two lots. Sounds like something very familiar. But one land, two lots as another Gamanche is installed here in Greater Accra. So Kentucky Teko, after he had been taken through the customary rites at the Gamanche Palace in Accra, and there's an inset, Ken Adama Lache, who had been inducted barely a week earlier into the Greater Accra Regional House of Chiefs as Gamanche. So, who is who, really? So the two gentlemen are on the front page. The freshly inducted one, or no, the freshly inaugurated Aldord Gamanche, and the not so old inducted Gamanche, all on the front page of the paper. That's why we have one land, two lots. They say sharing is caring. But a bit of the stories on inside the pages. Let's start with the one land, two lots. The controversy surrounding the installation of a substantive Gamanche reached another crescendo yesterday when the Ga Traditional Council installed Kelvin Ni Taki as a ruler of the Ga state. Under the stool name Ni Tekochuru, he becomes the fifth Gamanche to be installed since the death of Ni Amugi II about 13 years ago. And some of the rulers before him are the late king Takiteria, known in private life as Joe Blankson, Ni Taki Obli II, Ni Adama Lache, and Ayite Canada. So it would give you, if you look at the story that the Daily Graphic has done, it gives you a breakdown of this freshly Aldord Gamanche, and the other one who was also inducted not too long ago. It's very interesting, but this is still very much developing, so we'll leave it there. But let's go to this story about the 20 fake doctors. That story says on page 23 in the Daily Graphic newspaper. So we head there to see a bit of the details in the paper. Investigations by the Medical and Dental Council have led to the arrest of 20 quack doctors across the country since January 2016. 10 of such fake doctors were busted in Accra, 2 at Tema, 2 in the Volta region, 2 in the Eastern region, 1 in the Bunahafu region, and 3 in the Central region. At a press conference in Accra yesterday, the registrar of the Medical and Dental Council and the police, Dr. Eli Kwesi Atikwi, said through the combined efforts of the MDC, which is the Dental Council, the Medical and Dental Council, and the police, 5 of such cases had ended up in court, with a culprit receiving various jail terms. Quote, the rest are in courts or at various stages of investigation. Since the council does not prosecute, the cases are with the rightful authorities while the MDC assists with investigations, he said. But how easy is it to pose as a medical doctor and work in any of the facilities that we have across the country? It's interesting that you hear in most of the regions we have 2 fake doctors, two fake doctors. I wonder what it is with the Central region where they caught 3 people who had faked as doctors. So there's one of the convicts, Fortune Kamasa. His picture is in the Daily Graphic newspaper. He's a fake doctor who was found out and then convicted. Fake jail doctor. A fake doctor who plies his trade at Hohoi, here's another one in the Volta region, has been jailed 17 years by the Hohoi Circuit Courts. Okay, so that's Fortune we're talking about. He was sentenced to a 10-year jail term and a fine of 12,000 Ghana cedis on the charge of practicing medicine without a license by the court, presided over by Mr. Yao A. Champon. So watch out. This is just a warning to those of you who are posing as fake doctors. You're not a doctor. Go to school and get the right certification and practice if you want to be a medical doctor. Until then, don't put people's lives at stake. All right, let's talk about the Alajo, the train that derailed yesterday. Scared very much a lot of us. That story is on page 16. Says about 100 passengers on board a train heading to Accra from Tema were yesterday thrown into a state of shock when the train derailed from its tracks at the Alajo train station. And eyewitnesses who rushed to the scene told the Daily Graphic that some of the passengers were so traumatized that they virtually froze and were fixed to their positions on the train. Others who were also rushed from the train to full panic and had to be calmed down by some eyewitnesses and police officers who made it to the scene. Now, following that, press statement has been issued, and I want to just take you to the committee that's been set up. So, a 3-member fact-finding committee has been set up to investigate the incident. The committee will comprise the following persons: Kweku Ajenim Boateng, who's a deputy minister, Ministry of Railways Development. He would chair this committee. Mr. Lord Kwanzaa is Director, Regulations and Assurance, Ghana Railways Development Authority. He's a member of the committee. And Michael Ejay Anyete, who's Deputy Managing Director. And the terms of the committee as follows includes, I can't mention all, but it's I think about 5. They have to ascertain the cause of the accident, determine the nature of the derailments. One of the things they also have to do is to make any other relevance recommendations, amongst other things. So this was the release issued by Joe Gate, who is Minister for Railways Development, following this derailment yesterday here in Accra. But that full story is in the Daily Graphic newspaper. Finally, auction of 6 billion Ghana cedis energy sector bond starts today. Will be traded on local burst. The auction of the 6 billion cedis denominated energy sector bond is set to begin today as the government seeks funds to refinance the huge energy sector debts, which seem to be crippling the banking sector. So details of that in the Daily Graphic. Before we close the graphic, though, let's check out what's making back page headlines. So you find on the back page, Zongo Development Ministry to tackle infrastructure sanitation in communities. What are the details? The Ministry of Inner City and Zongo Development will construct roads, drains, and street pavement in all Zongo communities across the country to address development challenges facing those communities. Are we not a bit tired of hearing what they want to do? I mean, shouldn't we be seeing something on the ground? I think that's the point where I am right now. I'm tired of hearing what do you intend to do. Let's see what you're actually capable of doing. So hit the ground running and let's tell your story. Zongo Ministry. Let's do the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Front page of the Ghanaian Times, banner headline: government set to combat cybercrime, according to the president. And we had details of that. Latif Idris filed detailed story for us in the AM News a while ago. Ekuadonko arrested for fraud. 14 quack doctors arrested this year. GMO foods safe to eat, according to scientists. Let's start with Ekuadonko, shall we? That story is on page 3. It says the leader of the Ghana Freedom Party, Ekuadonko, has been arrested by the police for alleged fraud. She was said to have defrauded a trader of 10,500 Ghana cedis in connection with a purchase of a building plot. The victim, Madam Amayeboa, was said to have bought the land in 2009, but the relatives of Madam Donko have allegedly put pressure on the woman to stay away from the land. So details of that and how Donko herself is involved in this is all in the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Also, 51 remand prisoners set free and the Justice for All program in Sunyang. But that's, yeah, okay. So the same 20 fake doctors busted story in the graphic. What the Times has done is to give us the figures for this year, 2017, because the 20 is from 2016 to 2017. So this year alone, the year hasn't ended. So far, we've got 14 quack doctors. Looks like it's a lucrative business that's getting people involved. But the good thing is they're getting arrested and they're getting prosecuted. Accra-bound Tema train derails at Santana. So you'd find in some of the papers Tesano, others would say Santana, the very specific place. Trump's call made me cry even worse, according to a widow. So the widow of a U.S. Army sergeant killed in Niger this month said on Monday that President Donald Trump made me cry even worse. That's a quote. So the story, the backstory is that the U.S. president put a call through to this widow, and amongst other things, now we're getting to know that he didn't even address, mention the name of the officer who had died, but amongst other things, he's alleged to have said that he knew what he had gotten himself into. Some people are saying, well, this has been taken out of proportion. We're making a big deal out of nothing, but it's still making a lot of headlines. Back page of the Times, CRI partners 6 in aeroponic seed system. And I remember the story very much because Kwesi Deborah and Kumasi brought us details of the story. It was in our news yesterday. Government urged to prioritize food safety. Government should prioritize food safety in the country as population size increases. Miss Consolata da Sa Soire, a communication and advocacy officer of the Netherlands Development Organization, has urged. So that'll be it for the Ghanaian Times newspaper in terms of the headlines that we're looking at here on the show. Let's move to the Daily Guide newspaper. Hopefully we'll find Roland's news one. Yes, it is right there. All right, so front page of the Daily Guide newspaper this morning, and that raises concern over Saka. One has to do with a cyber crime story that we also told you about. Probe NDC chair over missing 1 million Ghana cedis cash. Butcher report review. So the Daily Guide has been serializing allegedly contents of the Kwesi Butcher report, which has largely been denied. But there's another angle of it today, which says, okay, let's just go into the story. The Professor Kwesi Butcher committee report has commended investigations into circumstances that led to the pocketing of campaign funds by the current Opposition National Democratic Congress Eastern Regional Chairman Bismarck Terry Boateng. Now, if you read the headline just as it is on the front page, you're tempted to think that is the national chairman. This apparently is the Eastern Region Chairman. And there's an insert, a picture of him, Bismarck Terry Boateng. So he allegedly pocketed 1 million Ghana cedis. The committee which investigated why the NDC lost miserably to then opposition New Patriotic Party on December 7. Apparently says Mr. Teria Boateng has pocketed 1 million CDs that was meant for the campaign and should therefore be investigated. So you can read the rest of the details of that story. It'll be interesting when I settle down with my guest later this morning on AM Talk. Let's see if the NDC would say, oh, this is true, or say, well, the report is not out, it's not open to the general public, so the Daily Guide, this one is a figment of their own imagination. Let's see how that goes later on this morning, right up to sports. Nana off to Niger, train crashes at Tesano, but let's go to News 1. Let's go to News 1. And the Daily Guide also has the Equiadonko story, but they put it this way: Equiadonko grabbed for fraud. In the center spread, Bukom Banku was not fit, according to Sarkodie. So is Sarkodie adding his voice to this whole Banku fight? Rapper Sarkodie thinks that Bukom Banku was not fit to fight in last Saturday's bout with Basti Samuel. The rapper's social media comments on Sunday raised concerns about why the boxer's camp allowed him to fight. Okay, so here's one of the things that he posted. Apparently, woke up sad, biggest Bukom Banku fan and heartbroken. He wasn't looking fit for this bouts. Sarkodie posted on Twitter on Sunday, and he said a few other things. You can check it out in the News 1 newspaper. So Sarkodie thinks that Bukom Banku was not fit. But in the meantime, I understand that he's calling for another bout. He wants a rematch. Like, seriously? And somebody said he must get a casket by the side of the ring if he wants to go another round, considering how well he was beating. Okay, so there are other stories. EL makes Vogue magazine feature. So the guy who's posing right there is ill. Is he ill? Okay. Yeah, he looks ill. Couldn't recognize him at the first glance. But there are other stories in the Daily Guide newspaper that you might want to be looking at if you're interested in. Let's move on to the Finder, though. One of my favorite, the Finder newspaper, front page of the Finder. Cybersecurity crucial to national digitalization efforts, according to the president. And there's a photograph. I think he made other front page headlines. President Akufo-Addo posing with the Attorney General, the Communications Minister. There's also the Defense Minister, National Security and Interior Ministers. And that's in the photograph on the front page of the paper. No room for white elephant factories. One district, one factory coordinator saying. Edward Kwapong appointed acting fair wages CEO. Government to supply SHS students with mobile devices, according to Minister. We'll get into the details of it. GRA chases Vodafone over 160 million Ghana cedis tax liabilities. Those are the front page headlines, a bit of the details in the paper. Let's start with this Vodafone story. It says the Ghana Revenue Authority is alleging that between 2012 and 2016, Vodafone Ghana committed 2.1 billion Ghana cedis to its parent company, the Vodafone Group, but the company still owes corporate income taxes in Ghana for the past 6 years. The amount the tax authorities say is about 30% of the Vodafone Ghana's turnover, yet Vodafone claims it has not made any profit since it took over Ghana Telecom in 2009. This is contained in an affidavit filed by the GRA in response to a motion filed by Vodafone Ghana at the Commercial Division of an Accra High Court against the GRA, disputing tax assessment of over 160 million Ghana cedis. That's a lot of money. So the GRA has asked Vodafone to pay 30% of the stated assessment, which Vodafone dispute as required by Section 4.2. They give the exact places of the Revenue Administration Act 2016 that mandates Vodafone to pay these monies. You can read the details of those stories. This particular one in the paper, but there are other stories of interest. Let's talk about Edward Kwapong, who has been appointed as acting Fair Wages and Salaries CEO. So President Akufo-Addo has appointed Dr. Edward Kwapong as the acting chief executive of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. He takes over from George Smith Graham, who resigned from the position in May 2017. Until his appointment, Dr. Kwapong was the chief executive of HR Perspective Limited, an HR consultancy firm. He was also the general manager of the Human Resources Division of Ghana Commercial Bank from 2001 to 2009. Dr. Kwapong comes to his new portfolio with a wide range of experience, and they give that, but he has a master's degree in public administration from the University of Ghana, a postgraduate certificate in job evaluation as well, and I think he is a lawyer. Yes, he's a barrister at law specializing in labor and industrial law. Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, that's one of the very challenging places to work, and we wish him well. In the meantime, we know that Mr. George Smith Graham did absolutely wonderful. We wish him well where he is now. And Mr. Kwapong, welcome to the game, but get ready. You'll be getting announcement very soon of unions and people wanting more money and saying that they're going to be striking if you don't give them that. So we wish you well, really, Mr. Kwapong. All right, no room for white elephant factories. One district, one factory coordinator says details of that story is in the Finder newspaper. Listen, I'll leave the rest of the stories for you to go grab the paper and read the details. Oh, no, not quite. I think I'm interested in this government to supply SHS students with mobile devices. What kind of mobile devices? 8. What happened to the laptops that were supposed to have been distributed, by the way? We're moving from laptops to mobile devices. Interesting. Story says Minister of Communication, Eslo Uswekufo, has disclosed that her ministry is in talks with the Ghana Education Service to revisit its decision on the ban of mobile phone mobile phone use among second cycle students across the country. This, she said, has become imperative because the Communication Ministry, in collaboration with its stakeholders, is in the process of providing mobile phones installed with school syllables and other learning materials to students to enable them do away with carrying large notebooks and textbooks to school. Oh, okay, so I get it. So this is almost like a tab, not necessarily a mobile phone, if you like, but details of that story in the Finder newspaper. Let's move on from Finder to the Daily Dispatch. Front page of the Dispatch: disparities in districts and constituencies. President to create 22 new districts. Ashanti tops with 7. So watch out for the districts that are coming up. Paper is reporting the role of edible fats in the body. There's a story inside this paper on that. My defeat is no news. Even Mahama lost an election. Like, seriously. That's coming from Bukom Banku. I'm interested. Stories on page 2. So, popular boxer Brian Makamoko, aka Bukom Banku, whose unbeaten run came to an end last Saturday night, says his defeat is no big deal. As even President Mahama, who ensured a lot of development during his tenure, lost the 2016 election. And according to him, he accepts that he's been defeated, but added that he will revenge in a rematch he hopes will be organized on 6 March 2018. Who wants to see a rematch? Especially after the way he was beating Bukom Banku. Who wants to see a rematch? I think I want your take on this. Send me a text message if you've got any comments on Bukom Banku or any of the other stories that you've heard here on the show. Very interesting times indeed. You can have a good laugh with the Bukom Banku angle to this whole review. From the Daily Dispatch, let's do the BNFT. I think we're just going to finish up with the Daily Statesman. So the Business and Financial Times before we move to the Daily Statesman newspaper, and then we'll see what the online portals are reporting. But of course, we've got to start from home, myjoyonline.com. So let's see the Business and Financial Times. More women needed to rebrand Ghana, according to the First Lady. Energy Bonds Roadshow excites bankers. Diasporan Pension Scheme gathers steam. 2 trustees secure license to operate. And pass law to halt energy sector SOE guarantees, and that's state-owned enterprises guarantees. Economy starters on free trade agreements. More headlines in the Business and Financial Times newspaper. Let's finish up with the Daily Statesman newspaper. On the front page of the Daily Statesman, Ghana to get National Cyber Security Center, according to President Akufo-Addo, government to revive one child, one computer policy. Talked about it a while back, and here it is. One child, one computer. So what? We have one this, one something. Where is it going to end? What more? What one this, one that can we have? Again, Kwewu West Assembly to introduce electronic billing system. And it's kind of cool the way we are beginning to understand technology and things are being changed from manual to electronics. But others are saying we're copying, but we're not copying well. It's like we're just doing cut and paste. We're not doing homegrown policy with the cut and paste. Let's do online now. Let's start with myjoyonline.com. But if you've got a text message that you want to hit me, of course, you're welcome to send me a text message, and I'm going to share it. It's been a while. AU Farouk in Tamale sending us a message this morning. Okay. All right, let's do myjoyonline.com. We'll come to some of the messages that you've been sending to us this day. In Ashanti region, problematic runabouts on Kumasi Ejiso runabouts. Okay, where's the story? Kumasi Ejiso road to be removed. Of course, Ohimin Terry gave us a detailed report in our AM News this morning. Let's move on. Relief as government promises to pay stalled Softline interchange project contractor. Ghana Water Company rolls out new technology to check billing challenges. So management of Ghana Water Company has introduced an electronic billing system to tackle challenges such as delays in billing, non-billing others. And as we move to electronic I hope that we will not also be given excuses for not doing effective work. So Ghana Water, well done with this electronic billing, but no excuses. Let's do diligent work with it. Also on the page, NDC's adversarial relationship with media skewed support towards NPP, according to political analysts. And details of that story is on the page. You can click on it and read the rest of the story on myjoyonline.com. ECG to name and shame defaulting customers in the press. ECG says its customers who default should expect to hear and see their names on radio and in the newspapers respectively. So if you know you owe ECG even before your name is published, or I begin to make a roll call on the show, make sure you settle your bills. Otherwise, Charlie, they are putting you out there. You're going to be in the newspapers, you're going to be on the radio. Okay, so how about those who will say, okay, you mentioned my name, so what? Interesting. Let's move on. Vodafone's application for 30% tax waiver turned down. The acting Commissioner General of the GRA has refused to grant a waiver of the payment of 30% of the value of tax in contention. So this is another angle to the same story that was reported, I think, in the Finder newspaper about this court case ongoing, Vodafone and the GRA concerning, some tax that they are supposed to pay, even though they are wiring a lot of money to their mother company. We have Visit TB Joshua ahead of Liberian runoff, former World Footballer of the Year and Liberian presidential hopeful George Weah was in Nigeria over the weekend on a spiritual mission. What does it mean? I know we're going to be putting the twists and turns on this. If he wins, we're going to say, oh yeah, because he visited. If he doesn't, all right. Let me leave the rest to after the runoff. Then we can have some conversation going. 200 cars for journalists benefited, only 4 out of 34, according to Butcher report. Why am I interested in clicking this story? To see that hopefully there'll be some names of journalists in there. Let's hit it. And then a former communications minister has denied certain claims. We're going to be looking at the details of that story in a bit. Aha, it's opening. Okay. So a copy of the Professor Butcher Committee report intercepted by JoyNews has revealed how vehicles meant for the Presidential Press Corps were not given to them. Former communications minister in the Mahama administration has denied claims that vehicles intended for the press corps were not given to them. Dr. Mani Buama said he has absolutely no idea about claims in the Kwesi Butcher report intercepted by JoyNews. Charlie, more meats. Let's go up. So the report stated that only 4 out of the 34 members of the Presidential Press Corps. Would this include Gifty Ando-Apia, because she was a member of the President's Press Corps, so she was supposed to have received one of the 34. Dr. Buama, whose name was linked to several allegations in the report, doubted the authenticity of the report, portions of which was read out on Joy FM. He maintained that the party has not officially released the document, arguably the most coveted political report in the country. Oh, Kwame Boateng was also a presidential correspondent. So Seth Gifty Ando-Apia. Oh, who else? I have lots of friends who were, working in the presidency. Apparently, they were supposed to have been given some vehicles. It didn't go to them. It went to some 4 people. I'm not sure we'll find the names of the 4 in here, but this is also as well being denied. So the Daily Guide serializing, and Joy also serializing as well. Very interesting. My guest would know something about these vehicles, definitely. So you've got to stay on for AM Talk. We'll push him and see if he can give us some real answers. But there are other stories on myjoyonline.com. Joy FM Sugar Project, not initiative of Ghana Diabetes Association. So there's a back and forth also going on with the president of the Diabetes Association on this sugar project. You can read details of that on myjoyonline.com. Ivorian nationals putting stress on health facility at Doma Central. It's also another story on our page. Okay, so lots of stories. You can check them out, myjoyonline.com. Quickly, let's do City. We end with the BBC, and then we'll make way for Benedict's with sports. So pro-NPP group justifies locking of school feeding office. We're unaware of locked school feeding office. In the northern region, school feeding office still locked by pro-NPP. Okay, so this is what we're going to do, because since the stories are on the school feeding, we're just going to click on one of the stories and share. But there's also on the school feeding, any of the 3 stories on the school feeding. More NPP members demand Kwabena Japan's reinstatement is also another headline. That's also one of the stories that's been making headlines, really. I think it probably peaked also yesterday. Former General Secretary of the NPP, and some are calling that he should be reinstated. So a pro-New Patriotic Party group calling itself Bema Camp Youth has defended its decision to blatantly close down the Northern Regional Office of the school feeding program in Tamale. Chairman of the group, Kamel Yusuf, explained that the protest was necessary due to what they describe as challenges bedeviling the school feeding program under the New Patriotic Party. The youth has realized, and it's a quote, so this is the Kamel Yusuf speaking. The youth has realized that the school feeding program is not going the way we expected. We realize that when we sit down and allow things to go the way they are, the school feeding program will not succeed, particularly in the northern parts of Ghana. When we conducted our investigations, those who have been given the monitoring appointment should be reporting to the minister herself, not the regional coordinator. We also have close to 10 ethnic groups, but the monitoring appointment was given to about 5 individuals and 1 ethnic group. We thought that the appointment should have been fairly distributed. So this is Kamel speaking. Really, is it rule of law we're working with, or any group can just wake up and close any base down because they feel that things are not going the way that they should be going? But if you go back to the story, Fred, please take me back. You would see the police, in view of the locking, they say they are not aware of any school feeding that has been locked. Amazing. So we're unaware of locked school feeding office. To be expected, I guess so. There are other stories on City FM online that you can check out as well. Just before Benedict comes screaming at me, let's finish off with the BBC and then we can run off. Ivory seizures hits record levels while poaching killed thousands of elephants over the last decade. It is diminishing, a report says. Western Envoy is one of Kenya poll unrest. What's today's date again? Today is 24th of October. Tomorrow will be the day that all eyes, I guess later today and tomorrow, all eyes will be on Kenya. Is that election coming off or not, with all the things that have gone down in Kenya? Nigeria University hires snake charmers. What's the story about? If you're interested, you can check it out. Egypt disputes desert shootout report. WHO cancels Mugabe ambassador role. There's some highlights. Nigeria's wanted expansion boss sacked. Whites only job adverts. Okay, what's all that about? You can look at the details of all those stories on the BBC Africa page if you're interested. Let's just share some of the messages that you have been sending to me by way of text. This one says, may God continue to lead our steps and turn around the fortunes of Ghana. Good morning to you, Mama V. Augustine Satwo in Techiman. Good morning to you as well. Thanks for watching the show. This one says, what at all is the MPP's problem about KB? That's Kwesi Boche's report. The MPP should continue to think about why the NDC lost the election instead of focusing on delivering on their campaign promises. Mahama Ganiu in Nima sends us this message. And A.U. Farouk saying, good morning. May Allah have mercy on the injured persons of the train accident. Thank you, A.U. Farouk, for your message. This one says, I will advise creditors of Bukom Banku to demand their money back before 6th March 2018 because Banku is on a suicide mission. Eddie in Jama say, Ash sending us this message. Here's another one from Isaka. Isaka CBR Girls in Tempane says, oh, okay, thank you very much. I mean, it's a big ups. Thanks for watching the show always. This one says, I just hope this committee formed to investigate this train incident will work. They should not, it should not be business as usual. Farik AOT in Tamale. I feel you. I get where you're coming from. Often we see all these committees set up to do these investigations. and then what comes out of it. So I get you. We hope something good really comes of it. This one says, Mama V, you seem to be so happy Banku lost. Anyway, you're not alone. I beg you, Banku can storm here any minutes. So I'm not teasing, just reading the stories out there just as they are. This one says, I am sorry for Bukom Banku. Next time, watch your tongue. Richard from Yala sending that message. And this one says, Nana can fulfill every promise he has made from Siao Mensa in Sunyai. This one also, okay, let's see. Banku trained with his mouth and paid the price with his body. That's both from Kaswa. What do you say? It's a good note for us to end the messages here. We'll come back and share a lot more of it with you. But you know, just to remind you of what to expect here on the show today. With 350 deaths per 100,000 deliveries, according to the World Health Organization back 2010, Ghana ranked 31st on the World Maternal Mortality Index, and infant mortality rate in Ghana is 50. That's per 1,000 live births, compared with 5 in high-income countries. So maternal health indicators like maternal mortality rates lag behind targets in Ghana despite considerable progress in some domains. Today we'll share with you how, you know, new ways of dealing with this matter so we're not even burdened further, because of course we can't expect government to fix all our problems. So when there are innovations, we'd like to share them here on our show. So we've got some innovative ideas to share with you on this in terms of reducing maternal mortality. Al-Hassan Suhini will be my guest on AM Talk. We're discussing all the things that have come out, including the 34 or so vehicles allegedly, and who are the 4 people that the vehicles went to. So stay with us, but first, Benedict is here. There's a man of the year. There's a man of the year is not in terms of football, and is not Neymar. It is not Messi. It is the one you hate but like. The details of all of these coming up. The FIFA Ballon d'Or Award and the winner, Benedict, has got a. Oh, so who wrote the Ballon d'Or for me? Stay with us. You're watching the AM show.